This week, we discuss if titles are anything more than props these days, and our gimmick of the week is stay tuned. This is Squared Circle Spotlight.
I'm the architect building every segment clean. Got a plan for the pod, I'm the mind of the team. Keep the chaos in check when the mics go live. I'm the one making sure this madness survives. We break kayfabe, hit deep cuts and truth. Welcome to the ring, yeah, we bring that proof. Cowabunga kid, bro, I'm high on the vibes. Dropping random facts that don't even jive. That you know Macho Man played baseball once. Forget the topic, yo, that's part of the stunt. Singing so bad they circle the block, but the crowd still pops when I start to talk. It's catchy, baby, got that punk rock soul. I'm cool with the stars, but I still play ball. Voice of reason in the circus of sound. I keep these fools feet on the ground. From backstage gossip to headline hits, I'm the friend to the famous with zero nonsense. Master of lunch, call me Charlie the Brain. Historian of pain in the squared circle game. Got hot takes burning like a steel chair shot. Dropping knowledge so deep you'll need a title shot. From old school vibes to new gen flair. If it's got a logo, I'll be rocking the wear. With a crew in the booth, dropping elbow true. From legends to memes, we bring the proof. Mic check 1, 2, let the crowd all sing. Welcome to the pod, step into the ring.
All right, we got to start this week with some breaking news that broke this morning. Not sure if you guys saw it. So just last month, John Cena made his official retirement. Today, another official retirement was made. The Brock Lesnar guy officially announced his retirement. Whatever that means, he says he's retired in a very heartfelt post on X, saying this was his last year. He's retiring, I guess, from going to pay-per-views. I'm not really sure. So thank you for all the memories, Brock Lesnar guy.
He will
We
surely
greatly
be missed.
appreciate everything you've done. I don't know if you guys saw this at all, but MJF
No, I
actually...
did. Wait, MJF commented? I didn't see that.
Yes,
wow.
MJF replied to it and said, make punching fans in the face normal again.
Good. It's like you self-aggrandizing egomaniac. You're a fan that wore a shirt and got on TV. Why do you feel the need?
Once, yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know who Brock Lesnar guy is, it's fine, because I wouldn't expect you to, but you may see him in the crowd at the PLEs and an old school Affliction shirt, which Jeremy used to rock. Now we all used to rock, to be honest, but he was that guy. So happy retirement from whatever you're retiring from, Brock Lesnar guy. All right, now that we got out,
he's not
that
even
out of the way.
the most famous wrestling fan. You got Vlad, green shirt, happy face
Green shirt guy, yeah.
who's
green shirt guy.
Apparently like a CIA agent or something.
There's so many different stories. One of them, he's like a real estate agent. One of them, he's like he works for WWE.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different. I was like, whatever it is, if he's buying those tickets, he must
Conspiracy
be a secret
theories.
millionaire. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's jump into
could
it.
do
One thing I do
stocks.
want to shout out I want to shout out some of our listeners, because I never do this, and I've been looking at our numbers, and I kind of shared some stuff at the end of the year with Spotify. But shout out to everybody that listens on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. There's not a lot of you, but you're loyal. You're there every week. So thank you to everybody that listens on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to everybody that watches on YouTube as well. But want to make sure we give a shout out to them, because there's a few of you that are sticking by and listening every week. So we appreciate that as well. Also a shameless plug, listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you. All right.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it. This week. We've got some topics, as we always do. Let's start it off with our merch table, and Charlie's got some more vintage books for us.
I do. I have, although it wasn't my favorite promotion, and I'm not necessarily a diehard like Joe is, I give credit where it's due. It changed the game. And this book was a game changer for me. Hardcore History, the extremely unauthorized story of ECW. And ECW fashion, I read this probably about 4 times. It's held together with a piece of masking tape. but it's really good. It talks about, how originally uh, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert was the booker for when they were Eastern Continental or whatever,
Eastern Championship.
and
Yeah.
yeah, Eastern Champion. And then Paulie came in, and then they talk about when they did the split from NWA. Dennis Carluzza was the guy that ran up in New Jersey. He was really pissed about them. They didn't know it was going to happen. That Shane Douglas said even going into the match, he was still like, I don't know if I can do this, but they did it, and they broke off. They started recognizing him as the ECW champion, and I mean, that was 40 something years ago, and we're still talking about ECW. I mean, there's an ECW chant at least once a month at a wrestling event. I mean, I can't think of a company that size for that. Like, they influence so much of the Attitude Era, the more realistic style of wrestling. But they burnt out so quick because what they did to their bodies, and the budget wasn't there. But if you're looking for a nitty gritty, they don't hold back with any of the drug usage and how beat up the schedule was. But it's cool because they talk about each show and how many tickets were sold. And I mean, sometimes a lot. And Paul Heyman, he's a master of lies.
Yep.
He would be like, the FedEx check is in the mail. Here's the tracking number: 86743 And they're like, Paul, that's only 12 numbers. They're like, you missed it. He's like, oh yeah, four. That
Yeah.
just caught up in lies. But it was also cool because Taz designed like the t-shirts. Tommy Dreamer did a lot of the work with the company. They ran the training program. They cut a lot of the promos in Paul Heyman's basement when he's still living with his parents. So it's really is cool little peek behind the scenes at a special moment in time in wrestling. So it's a high recommend read for anyone that likes ECW.
Be very gentle with it.
Yeah, it's actually hard to find online now if you want the hardcover book. But buy it.
I'm glad you clarified, because I was going to ask, how many times have you read that? If it's got all that tape and it's all in that condition, but apparently not.
Well, I'm all right. This is a horrible thing to admit, but I'm a man. I take bubble baths. I don't give a shit. Say what you want. And there's nothing like reading a book in a bath. And yes, it might have dipped into the water a few times or fell apart, but there's no shame in my fucking game.
Yeah, I'm a physical book person too. I can't do the Kindles and anything like that. I have to have the physical book. Can't do it.
I could do
It's perfect
audio
timing
book.
that you covered this, because I just listened to, and I think I told you this, you guys, this a little while back, but Todd is God, the audiobook about Todd Gordon, the founder and creator of ECW. And it's funny because everything you were just saying, so about Paul Heyman being a liar and the FedEx numbers, Todd Gordon said the exact same things. He would always leave out one digit. And then fun story about Dennis Carluzzo as well. There was such a rivalry between like NWA and ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, at that time. Dennis Carluzzo showed up at an ECW show and was letting the air out of all the fans' tires in the parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So they had him arrested and banned from the shows. Yeah. But yeah, I also learned, and it's probably in that book, as you've stated, Paul Heyman was quite the con man. So you kind of know a little bit, and I'm sure the book delves more into it, but there's quite a bit that he did, in fact, lie about, and how he took over ECW. And yeah, interesting stuff. So definitely, I would say read that one. Check out Todd is God. Maybe I'll cover that sometime too. But yeah, really interesting stuff. And the backstage stories.
Crazy.
Let's dip into one. I think I told you guys one with Giant Gonzalez. So fun story that was in that book. I don't know if it's in your book as well, Charlie, but Giant Gonzalez had Bill Alfonso warm up a young lady for him for a night of lovemaking. So he called Bill Alfonso to get her ready before the Giant took over. So really weird stuff.
There's no way you could have said that to make that sound better. So
I tried to
I
keep
give
it
you
as
credit
PG.
for trying to piece it together differently, but I don't think that would have ended any other way.
That is probably the
Yeah,
best
I
you could do.
can't top that. One thing that comes close is early UFC. I think like UFC like 4 and 5. There was a guy named uh Paul something, the polar bear, something with a B, whatever. He came to work like a shoot match with Taz
Yes.
because Taz was doing his, and part of the payoff was Francine or Missy Hyatt, who was signed with them, would give him oral sex, and that was part of the contract. She reneged on the contract, much to the man's dismay, but only reneging after he did not hurt Taz, because if you saw this guy, he could hurt Taz.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it was Francine. I did learn through this as well that Francine was actually pretty tame backstage.
Yeah,
compared
Missy
to
Hyatt.
everyone else. Yeah, it's probably Missy Hyatt. Wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, that was our merch table. If you guys are looking for that book, as Charlie said, we did check on eBay before going live. It is pretty expensive, so drop us an email and Charlie may give you one at a discounted price. So, squarecirclequestions@gmail.com.
Jeremy might call you and read you a page at night, put you to sleep.
Read you to sleep.
Read you to sleep. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into this week's deep dive. So I'm going to preface this, how we kind of got to this a little bit. I got a lot of flack on TikTok, a little bit on YouTube about our discussion on Mercedes Moné last week and her titles being meaningless and maybe she not being a great champion. So this week we're going to deep dive into that kind of topic and talk about, are titles still a storytelling tool, or have they just become props? So, like I said last week, she's got a lot of titles. A lot of them feel meaningless, but we're going to dive into this. We're going to talk all about it. So first I want to start, just kind of talk about some times when titles were used as a great storytelling tool. So, for me, first couple that come to mind recently, when Gunther had the IC title and he was that dominant champion and nobody could beat him and people were fighting to win that title from him. Or even Roman Reigns when he had the long run as the tribal chief for however many years. And that was just the top prize and nobody could get it from him. So talk through that a little bit. Let's get some takes here. Charlie, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, yeah, I like it. I like it when the title is the payoff to the story. Like you said, the Gunther, Sami Zayn thing was a great example. Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30, great example, where he chases. Kofi, WrestleMania 35, was it?
Yep.
The one with, where it was Kofi Mania. When it's the payoff, when Cody just won it. When it's the payoff to the story, when it's the prize at the end, when it's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I think it does a great job as being a centerpiece in the arc of the story. But it can go astray. It can go awry, and we'll get into that. But to further, those are some of my examples of great times I thought the title was used. Kathy, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I was going to bring up the Daniel Bryan one too. That's probably one of the bigger of our time, that it was just, there was no other way that could, you didn't know until it happened, and it was such a big payoff. And there's not very many, you kind of lose that recently, I think, where you feel happy, like you're genuinely happy that the person got it. You feel that like deep, warm and fuzzy feeling that they got it. Like now it doesn't, I don't know if it's just the writing or whatever it is, but I haven't really gotten that feeling since the Daniel Bryan situation. That was going to be my number one title. Like the Roman Reigns thing, even that, like even when he initially got it, I was not a big fan of it. And the fact that it lasted as long as it did and is just unnecessary to me. But I think the next, I don't know if it's because if you follow it, my next big fuzzy moment, and if they do it right, I hope they do it right. I'm going to say is CM Punk, because it's just something in his career that he has constantly talked about getting, and he can retire happy after that. It's just that kind of a conversation, and it's the means to an end type of a moment. But recently, I haven't gotten that warm and fuzzy feeling from it. So Daniel Bryan, I think, was the last time that I was like, "Holy shit, he did it!" And he's gonna be great at what he does.
Let me just
Sure.
throw in a quick comment, Jeremy, so all you AEW dorks don't get your panties in a bunch. The Hangman, his redemption arc storyline was a good
Yeah.
conquering, the mountain. That was a good one that AEW did. AEW can do some things right. There's an example of it. Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry, cut your legs off.
Deacon Jeremy, you're up.
It's all right. But to piggyback on what you guys were saying, like, yes, the most iconic one is that Daniel Bryan one for me with everything. And with it being part of the story, like, yeah, I like that aspect of the storytelling. I want to see that where it gives you the validation that he achieved that goal finally, or has the legacy of the title that he's carrying and whatnot. But now it doesn't feel like that, and I think it's because of today's generation. They're very, like, attention spans are so much shorter than what they used to be. Like, there's too many titles, and as far as I could see, where they're used as props and not real title reigns. It's like having a trophy. In certain ones, that's the equivalent of the certain
Yeah,
titles.
we'll
It's
get
a
in.
trophy for that year. So I think that dilutes it.
We'll get into those. Yeah. That's part of the discussion as well. We'll talk about all those belts.
Just fun fact on every 3 out of the 4 of us mentioned the Daniel Bryan culmination. We were at his only pay-per-view title defense.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
At Extreme Rules.
And
yeah.
that's when Jeremy said he was a better bumper than Daniel Bryan was.
And Seth Rollins, yes.
Yes.
These guys don't know how to bump. One I can't believe didn't come up. One that I can't believe didn't come up, a little bit older, but was Shawn Michaels achieving the boyhood dream. That, I think, to me, is probably the most iconic. To have him, when he won the belt from Bret Hart in that Iron Man match at WrestleMania, and then dropped to his knees in tears. Like, that was, I wasn't even a Shawn Michaels fan at that point, and that was awesome as a kid to see. But those are great examples of doing it to make the title feel special. Now let's talk about a little bit how I feel now, and it sounds like Jeremy probably feels a little bit now. Titles feel more like props. They don't feel as important for the most part. We've named a few recent examples, but more and more it feels less important. So let's touch on that a little bit. And let's start with one thing Jeremy said there, which is a very good point. How many titles there are, okay? So WWE has a lot more than they used to. They've got U.S. title, IC title, World Heavyweight Champion, Universal Champion, tag titles on both brands. The Speed title, if that's still a thing. I don't know if I've never watched it. So, like, there's a lot. But let's get into that a little bit and what you guys are thinking. So, Jeremy, you already started talking about it. You want to continue that?
So what I believe is that it's diluted the aspect, or that, like, and I'm not talking about AEW directly, but their titles for each pay-per-view in a sense, or like tournament that they have. It's a trophy at the end. So the story is the tournament alone. So it doesn't really have much to give a background in a sense. It's just you won that tournament. So I think that those are used more as props, where you're not getting a good story like the old-time WWE. Like, those titles told a story, and it was something that actually brought you to attention to watch that segment like Raw or SmackDown, because you wanted to see what was going on, or the feuds that were continuing.
Go ahead, Charlie. What are your thoughts?
I think that
are
they're
they
more
passed around so much?
overall props.
Yeah, I mean the
Okay.
amount of titles we see nowadays. So I listed
Oh,
like
yeah,
They're not
WWE's titles.
meaningful.
I
Right.
can't even get into AEW's because there's
Yeah.
so many. I don't even know them
Yeah.
all. But just the
I'm
thought of
with
how many titles there are.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. There's way too many titles. Here's how it should work in my perfect world. If I was the booker of a company, there's the world title, there's a secondary title that's used to elevate stars, like the IC title was when it was used perfectively. Maybe if you want, you can throw a C tier title, European hardcore title in there, and then you got your tag titles. You can do the same for the women's division without the hardcore. I don't want women doing hardcore matches. Make it whatever. You know, Jeremy's rump, the belt, whatever. Do what you want with it. But yeah, I would go worlds, mid card, throw a C level belt in there, and tag team, and then a woman's. So yeah, keep the belts, 5 to 6 belts, spread it across the roster, make it more competitive. Your top stars are fighting for those belts. Who the hell knows? I can't tell you who the champions in AEW. I don't even know what they are. They changed them.
Yeah,
I don't
there's a
even
lot.
know.
You got TBS, TNT, Continental, North American, I think. No, that's
Yeah,
NXT.
they've got like 10 also.
Yeah.
Like it's for the fact that they haven't been around that long, they also have just as many.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it
and I
feels
think
it feels like participation trophies at this point to me. If everybody's
Is it
getting
supposed
a
to
belt,
be
'cause
like
if you
the
think back,
territories?
not really, because it's not defended in certain areas. So, like, if you had a European title and it was only defended in Europe, that would be a little more like territories. Now it's just there's a title for everything, and you can't tell which one means more than which. Which is better, the Continental or the TBS title? You know what I mean? So, like, which is more important? It's hard to put. I'm not just using AEW as an example, but like, which is more important? You have the IC title and the US title. I know they're on
Right.
different brands, but like, which one's more important? It's hard as a fan to put worth into any of them when everybody has one. Is kind of my thought. But also talking about that, so I want to get into. I did some fact checking here on last week's comment. So here is a perfect example of titles being used as props, and I'm going to go back to Mercedes. I got hate last week. Let the hate keep coming. Just bring it in. Here are her current list of titles. Now tell me how prestigious these are. You have the Queen of Southside Championship. Okay. EWA Women's Championship. Anybody know what EWA stands for?
No
Neither do
idea.
I. The PTW World Championship. Nope. Best Ya Wrestling Women's Championship.
the fuck?
Discovery Wrestling Scottish Women's Championship. And she did have the Rev Pro, which she just lost. So this is an example. Well, forgot one. Iowa County Fair Champion. Also.
How could you forget that one? That was like the peak of the conversation last week.
But that's my point, is she comes out with, and I'm just using her as an example. Don't crucify me, AEW fans. She comes out with a line of belts and nobody can tell you what they are. Like, she has them. Like, if you're on a TV show in a major company, why are you bringing out titles that you won in the parking lot of a high school in Scotland, I guess, because she's the Scottish champion? Like, why does that matter on a major show? That's like, I don't know, giving the
The Squared
minor
Circle
league.
spotlight
Yes.
on the AEW stage.
Yes, exactly. Like, why does any of that matter? And that's my point.
Charlie,
It
you
just
ready to
feels like
defend that
about
title?
Yeah. Coming for Mercedes
Coming for
Monet.
it.
Actually, she DM'd me. She wanted to.
Yeah,
wrestle
she
for
wants
the
it.
title.
She wants it for her lineup.
And Jeremy,
Yeah,
she
yeah,
wants you coming out shirtless holding it.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is like, it means, and not to
Jackson.
discredit anybody in those indie federations that's working hard to become a professional wrestler. If you have it and you're a part of that company, great. If you're an AEW and you have it, you're stealing titles from indie wrestlers,
Absolutely.
which is just makes it worthless.
You don't punch down. You punch up. So, if you're the Rev Pro, okay, then that's kind of higher level than
That's yeah. That's a little more.
some of the ones we're talking about, but it's just the first thing that popped in my head. Okay, if you're the Jersey All Pro or whatever, Wrestle Pro, you don't, and you're the AEW championship, you don't talk about the Jersey All Pro. You talk
Yes.
about the AEW champion. You don't
Exactly.
need to come out with these belts. No one gives a shit about them.
Yes.
When you have the UFC title, you don't bring the Northeastern Regional title with you to the ring. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And Tom, be
Logic.
honest, if they got to that stage, everybody there has probably at least a couple of these because
Yeah.
they got noticed by somebody somewhere. So that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, at some point in their career they had those, but they're not still bringing them to the ring in AEW. She's actively defending them, I guess, but who cares?
It looks
So
like
I-
you said, it looks cool. It's a prop.
Exactly. It's nothing more than a prop. And a lot of times these title reigns, that's outside of that, it kind of just feels like that. Like if you look at WWE right now, you have probably 4 or 5 top guys that the title just kind of circles between. You have Cody, Roman, CM Punk. Well, those are probably your top 3. And now you'll have Gunther kind of in that picture as well. But like those guys winning the title again doesn't feel that special to me. It doesn't feel like I love that feeling of having somebody, like you said, with Daniel Bryan working their way up and you're cheering for them, or even the Kofi Kingston one, working their way up to get that title. When you've had that title 6 or 7 times and you win it again, it just feels like, okay, this is our top guy and we're going to kind of do this for a while. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but that's just me.
No,
I
I
agree.
agree.
And I was thinking about it this way, like, I think what the biggest
agree
miss
too.
here is what I think the biggest miss here is the fact that there's so many pay-per-views now too. So like I don't know if that's what's really changed. And I guess, like WWE is an example. They have a full roster for SmackDown and when they did the split is when everything got a little crazy because you've got, especially in the beginning, they had the equivalent. It was almost like there had to be one on each network so that everybody had a title. And then they ended up with all these extra titles. And now it used to just be, what was it? The main, like 5 or 6 pay-per-views. And that's when titles would change. And you strive to get to that pay-per-view. And now they're changing titles on Monday Night Raw because they're trying to pull in Raw and they're trying to pull in people for this. Major titles too. So it takes away that moment, that WrestleMania moment, that Royal Rumble moment. You lose a lot of that, even in AEW. Like there's just so many pay-per-views all the time, and because it's accessible now. You used to have to pay all this money, so nobody was watching, and they needed a reason for you to spend $70 to sit at home and watch this. And it's just, I think that's the biggest thing that has changed. Because you're not striving for the big event anymore. You're striving for once a month or once every 2 weeks to pass a title or fight a title, and everybody's doing the same thing.
That's a good point. I don't want to sound like I'm backtracking or being a hypocrite, but I would bring back the TV title because in the original
Yes.
TV title form, again, Jim Crockett promotion stuff, it could only be defended on TV
Mhm.
and it could only be like a 20-minute or 30-minute match. And that was the thing because it would be at TV. You would see it. You wouldn't see it on, a house show or this and that. So it was something that you could watch a weekly event or whatever. And the TV title might be defended, and that's the big prize. But the world title, that's your, quarterly pay-per-view. That's the one that's going to draw the money. So I would bring back the TV title.
That was always a fun one too. The TV.
Yep.
Did WWE ever use the TV title? I know ECW, WCW. Yeah, WWE never had it. It's a weird one not to have because that was pretty big. But then my other thought is too, while we talk about titles and if they mean anything, is more and more now you see guys that, and we've said this plenty of times about different people and different conversations, is like that guy doesn't need the title. Does it even matter then? Like, we're
Doesn't matter.
portraying wrestling as a sport, right? And any sport is to be the champion. The goal is to be the champion. You have guys like Jey Uso and Orange Cassidy in AEW. Even we talked about a little bit last week, I think, LA Knight. Like, guys like that are over with the fans, and they're still going to be over with the fans without the belt. So does a belt even matter ultimately? Like, we're not keeping win-loss records. You can get over with the fans and they'll still like the character regardless.
Mhm.
But then the converse to that is if they don't win the belt, fans are mad. So want to hear what you guys think on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. Yeah, I don't think it really matters because think about it this way: some of the biggest draws and the biggest aha moments are when people come back just to fight. Brock Lesnar, John Cena. Like there was no title on the line there. There was nothing on the line there, and I mean, take this with a grain of salt because of who it's coming from, but there was an interview with Ronda Rousey recently, and the interviewer asked her, "Who was the world champion when you were there?" And she's like, "I have no idea." And she even said, she goes, "I don't think it really matters. Like it's just they pass the titles around like it's not this huge moment like it used to be." And she was in the biz again. Take it with a grain of salt because she was one of those pop in people also, but and I don't know if she actually paid attention to anything other than what she was doing. As we know, she's not my favorite. But somebody in that business and was at the top of the business was so detached from what was going on. She can't even remember who was the top dog during her reign. So I think what sells more is the match itself, the story itself. The title is the prop. It's obviously the end goal, but there are some of the biggest matches in the last decade have just been I'm going to fight you matches. They're not for a title. They're not chasing anything. They're appearances from guys that don't need or want a title. They just are there to pull in money and pull in the views of just existing.
Yeah. And then if you think about it too, is like you made a good point there. Is like you have these main event caliber feuds, main event matches, that the title's not even on the line. So think
Not
back
even
to
online.
CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, that feud that went on for a while. Those were main event in Raws, SmackDowns, even pay-per-views. CM Punk and Seth Rollins. We had this feud going on since CM Punk came back a few years ago. And for the majority of that time, neither one of them were champion. And these were main event matches. So what is the title good for? If that is your main event, you don't need the title in it. Um, and that goes to a question too, is like, are there enough main event caliber or main event caliber champions? So what I mean by that is like these guys that are not in the main event but are champion, should they be champion if they're not in the main event? You know what I mean? It kind of goes hand in hand, and that's kind of my other thought.
Here's my thought on it. Um, being the champ's cool, right? But sometimes we'll see the tag team champs are the secondary champ, whatever, not defend the title for months, and sometimes the women's tag team champions. TV time, merchandise. That's what matters, not the belt so much. You know what I mean? It's like
Bragging
it.
rights is what it
Yeah,
really comes down
you know
to.
what I mean. Like people are talking about. What are people talking about? Bronze. Uh, I mean, I know he's fighting Punk for the title, but they're not champs. Logan Paul's not a champ. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are top guys that aren't champs. Um, but they get TV time, they get merch, and I think that's more important than the prop title right now.
Yeah,
Well, we
one
just
of,
saw it with Samoa Joe. Like we were all like, None of this makes sense." It was literally just a bridge
Just to
to
get,
get to the next
yep,
storyline. There was no purpose. There was no glory in it. It literally was to have somebody hold it that was
yeah,
100% going to lose it,
yeah.
and
It's a
they do that
traditional
more
champ.
than anything else.
yeah, and one thing Jeremy brought up too, and I think this is one thing I like that AEW does, and he maybe had the opposite opinion, but are those tournaments. I like tournaments in wrestling, and then giving a title for that. Like if you want to do a tournament and it's once a year and you get the belt for that year, like the ring. What's the AEW ring they gave out them, that Bandito just won it.
Yeah.
Like, or even the Continental Classic. You had this tournament to crown the champion. You did the title, the tournament again this year, and that makes it feel a little more important to me.
Right.
Go ahead,
I like
Jeremy.
the Money in the Banks when you get a title shot.
No, I get
I'm
it
cool
with the whole
those two.
title being the trophy and aspect, and I like it. I have no problem with the tournament aspect.
Yeah, and I mean that's a cool way to do it and make it feel important. When guys just have the title and one of my favorite wrestlers, Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, they have the title and then they're gone for 6 months at a time, not defending the title.
Right.
Then it feels not as important too. Is like you have these long title runs that only get defended a few times a year. And that hurts it too, because I think back years ago, or yeah, they even had it up until Daniel Bryan was champion, I know, is they had that stipulation that the champ had to defend the title every 30 days. Now that's gone. We forgot about that. Now it's
Thank
whenever
you,
they
President.
want, whenever we want to get a
Thank
title
you,
match.
President Jack Tunney, for instituting that.
I was trying to think of the name. I couldn't think of it. Thank you. You're reading my mind.
Well, think about it this way too, like the longest reigning titles, and you would think that that is the most prestige title to have, is you've had it for the longest days or whatever. Longest twice in top 5, Bruno Sammartino. Nobody today knows who that is unless you really know what you're talking about. That doesn't mean anything. And the Hulk Hogan, yes, that, but he's not known for having his longest reign. He was just a superstar on his own. Roman Reigns, you don't know him as anything title related. You just know him as he is the wrestler that most people like. And he was the second or third, another one. He was on that list a couple times. The names that you think of as the history of wrestling have nothing to do with the titles that were involved.
You bring up a very good point that I did not think about as well too. Maybe Charlie knows the number, but
Yes.
Hulk Hogan, one of the most famous, he put wrestling on the map. How many title reigns did he have? It wasn't that many.
It wasn't.
He didn't have a lot of title reigns. Even there you go. Even a guy like Bret Hart, what did he have? 2 or 3? And he's one, he's beloved. Okay, 5, but he's beloved by fans. I know beloved on this show by a couple people, but again, that title, nobody cares when he had it, how long he had it. But everybody still regards it very highly.
I think he had 5.
That feels like more. I don't know. Maybe we'll fact check that.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing. Like, think about Undertaker. His
Go to the Google
thing on everything. What was it? 14 or 15, whatever his reign was. It wasn't a title reign. It was a win, WrestleMania win and loss streak. And obviously you've got John Cena's at the top, 17 or 18 or whatever it was. So like that makes sense, but it wasn't anything about time, or it was just he collected. It was like Thanos, like he got all the rings and all the stuff, and it didn't mean anything to him. It just was just to say they gave him that match just to get the one last one that he didn't have, and that was just to finish his collection. That was cool for him. It wasn't for us. That was just for him to say that he had them all.
And the Bret Hart thing, it's 5 WWF championships. I don't count the WCW ones. There's 2 there, but nobody counts those. The WCW, they were trash by the time it happened.
Yeah, so let's end it here with one last question, and I want your guys' thought. Now, this is kind of summing up this whole thing here. Are titles still the end goal? So, in current wrestling, do you guys feel like that should be it? So, like, if you were booking, would you like cut the titles and the number of titles in half? Charlie already kind of said that he would, or would you completely rethink how titles are booked? So I want to hear from each of you here, Jeremy, you included, because I forgot you were on the show tonight. But Charlie, go ahead, you start us off.
Yeah, so I definitely would. I would cut the titles down. So like I said, have the You got to have a main card, QB1 type. That's the face of the promotion. You have the Intercontinental U.S. title, mid-level championship, and use it the way it. Joe, you said booking when you're talking. It's all about booking, because if you book the IC title correctly, like in its heyday when me and Joe and Kathy and Jeremy were watching our, it's like the IC title meant they were grooming you to become a WWE champion. You know what I mean? Like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I know Bulldog didn't pan out, but all those guys, that was the workhorse title, and it elevated them to work, at least work with the world champions. You know what I mean? So yeah, cut them down, have a tag team belt, and then, like I said, throw in a C-level belt. Make it gimmicky if you want. Make it a hardcore belt. Make it a speed title, meth title, whatever you want to call it. Jeremy.
All right, Jeremy, you're up.
So I'm agreeing here
You're
with
Jeremy.
Charlie, like with the same concept of the titles, but I do want to keep that. Thanks, Charlie. So I do want to keep the tournament aspect. I get it. That's the way they do the trophy thing. I think that's cool to make it interesting. But other than that, they are watered down the titles a bit. I want to see it like the storylines mean a little bit more going towards the titles too. Like I feel like there's like the draw's not there for me right now, and I miss that. But I feel like it.
Do you even care? But do you even care about some of the titles that they have, like the WWE Women's Tag Team Champion? Who cares, right? You would rather see a bra and panties match, wouldn't you?
Why'd you pick that one of all titles?
You're the rump raider.
You want to go back to the Divas, where it was just the Divas
and that wasn't
titles.
a title.
The girls wrestling doesn't matter anymore.
The bra and panties champion.
Panties champion.
Yeah.
I think Mercedes got that one too. Sorry.
Oh, wait. You might not want to offend some people. Who she's the rebirth of Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, she liked them when she was a kid. She does the Three Amigos. She's not Eddie Guerrero. She's a little girl that weighs 100 pounds.
Don't say that either. They'll come after you.
By Willow Nightingale, Nia Jax.
Oh boy.
Anybody else?
All right, Kathy, what are you thinking?
Oh boy.
What was the original question?
After that
We've got very sidetracked here.
So do the titles even matter anymore? And how would you book it to make them matter?
I think they matter a little bit. I do think, but I only think they matter at the top. I don't think the rest of them matter. Like Charlie said, you used to get that really just to open the door to go to the next step. Now they just give it to anybody. Like it's almost like you get a mid card just to, you give them a title just so that they have something, but it doesn't mean it doesn't go anywhere. 90% of the time they stay at that level and they don't ever go any higher than that. I think a way to get it back to my original comment, do less, like make rules again where it has to be at these major pay-per-views, not these bullshit Saturday night, whatever that they're doing. There has to be, I want to say there has to be a certain amount of appearances, but we all know that that's not going to work because they like their big guys that show up for 5 minutes. On all platforms, they all do that. But I think the way to book it is it has to be, you have to climb the ladder again. Like you can't even go for it unless you maybe cash in at a Money in the Bank or you cash in the contract thing that MJF just did. There has to be a climbing the ladder to get to the end goal again. And it also will it'll get rid of just the revolving 3 or 4 people. Like it'll get those underdogs to climb up. They should put more of like the top dog at NXT needs to go against the top dog at WWE more. I think that's really cool when they did that recently with Cody Rhodes and
Overfemi.
Yeah. Stuff like that, just keep everything it's just all of the same stuff over and over again, and I think it's time that we need to have it mean something and climb the tiers. Like, everybody treats every title like it's the world title. They freak out about it, they talk about it, they brag about it. It they don't brag about what's next. I'm coming for X, Y, and Z. I'm just happy I have it. Is the unfortunate rut that everybody's in right now.
Remember when AEW was supposed to have a ranking system? And
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be great. And like the top, say from 10 to 5, you could compete for the TNT title, and the top 5 can go for the world title. I thought that would be a phenomenal idea. What a
Yeah.
great thing. But that kind of just fell off, you know?
It was a really good idea. Would have made things a lot cleaner and more interesting. But I think once you start adding storylines in and people
Yeah.
losing matches, and now you kind of worked yourself into a corner. Um, but yeah, I'll kind of take a little bit from what everybody said. Kathy took one of my exact thoughts. Um, for example, like, you lose the title. I like the idea of maybe you get a rematch. If you've had the title for a while, you'll get a rematch. But if you lose that, back to the bottom, pal. You're starting over. And then you can build those cool redemption stories, kind of like they did with
Yeah.
Hangman. Um, and then even like MJF kind of coming back and having to win his belt back from Samoa Joe. So like all that stuff, I think is great. And then I completely agree with Charlie as well. Is like, cut the titles. Like, there's too many. It's participation trophies at this point. Have your the story in wrestling. If you want to keep it like a sport, you can still do the entertainment part a little bit, but keep it like a sport. Is you're fighting to be the best, right? Everybody's goal should be to be the champion, whether it be Intercontinental Champion, World Champion, wherever you are in your career, kind of determines that. But you should be fighting for a title, and that's how you book it. Make it feel like everybody wants to be the best. And you'll
The
feel that
number
here
one
and
watched sports, if you, like you said, treat it like a sport. World Series, Stanley Cup,
exactly.
Super Bowl. You don't care who's in it. You just know that that's the end goal that everybody is shooting for, and it's not your team, but you're still going to watch it
Exactly.
because that's what that's what you're striving for.
Yeah, exactly.
Stone Cold Steve Austin has a great quote, and it's something I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like, if your ultimate goal is to not become world champion, WWE champion, you're in the wrong line of business. That that should be every wrestler's goal when it's booked right. And Joe touched on this. A lot of it has to do with booking. You can book it where it is right, where it is the pride, like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But we're in a state now where I don't see that as the case, and I think we've made some nice arguments as why that isn't the case.
Completely agree. We'll end it there. Let us know what you guys think. Do you think titles still matter? How would you book it? What are your thoughts on what we think? Sound off in the comments. Send us an email.
Some clown's gonna be like, Mercedes Moné should be WWE champion, IGWP heavyweight champion, UFC
She would be showing her belts from
champion.
WWE if she was allowed to.
Yeah. Mercedes
Jeremy's rump
catching a
rating
lot of
champion.
strays this
Having
week.
said all that,
Yep.
can we at least create a hierarchy?
Well, that's
what
kind of
we're
what
talking
Charlie
about.
talked about already with AEW. I don't know where you've been, pal, but we talked about and how AEW didn't succeed with that. But I'm all for it. If they could find a way to make that work, it makes a lot of sense. It makes it real clean. And then it's easy storytelling from there. But gets confusing when you start adding in interferences and people losing and DQs and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where it fails as well. So let us know what you guys think. All right, and now it's time to jump into our gimmick of the week. And as we've seen many times in the past, one host is dressed as our gimmick. So this week, we are covering none other than Right to Censor. Jeremy, any initial thoughts on your outfit?
Actually, I'm shocked this shirt fits as well as it does. What I'm most surprised about is an extra large, and yet I'm filling it out pretty well. Feel pretty good.
I'm surprised.
That's
The part
where
I'm
this went?
surprised about is you didn't cut the sleeves off and go full Bull Buchanan with it. I really expected that.
I'm surprised that I didn't think you were going to put yourself over.
I
in
was
this
thinking
comment.
about it.
Seriously, you're
Subtle
you're
jab.
delayed by 18 seconds. 18 seconds. Well, what are you most surprised about? I look so fucking good in this.
It looks
That's what I'm
so
surprised
good.
about.
It's the podcast version of his gym selfies.
You're in love with yourself, pal.
The
He just likes
motivation.
to dress up to see what makes him look good. He's trying to find his next new life gimmick.
Oh yeah, he's
Is that
starting
a
a
clip-
whole
wait.
nother show on his own.
Is that
Where
a
he
clip
dresses
on
up
or is
every
that a
week.
real tie? Is that a clip on or a real tie?
Real tie.
Wow.
That's my boy. Wins or not?
All right, let's get into the actual gimmick here. So, Right to Censor debuted during the Attitude Era. So this was kind of Vince McMahon mocking the Parental Television Council, the PTC. So they were lobbying the advertisers to try and pull their ads from Raw at that time. I think SmackDown too. SmackDown was on, yeah. So they were trying to have them pull their ads from the show because of, the content of what was on Raw and SmackDown at the time. So things we've already kind of hinted at the show. So bra and panties matches, foul language, all that good stuff. So they were trying to do that. So Vince McMahon, and I give Vince credit for this. A lot of times we kind of speak negatively on his gimmicks, but this was a nice little jab. It's a nice little heel move, creating the RTC, Right to Censor. So they came out. So we had 5 members. We had Val Venus. We had Bull Buchanan, Ivory, the Good Father. We'll get into that in a minute. And their leader, Stevie Richards. So they came out dressed kind of like Jeremy is, plain white shirt, black ties, and came out to entrance music that was nothing but a siren, and the Titantron was just that circle with the line through it. Pretty annoying, pretty stupid, and they'd cut promos, pretty much about the negativity that was taking place on Raw, all the bad things that were happening, and how they were against that. But let's start there. Let's get some of your guys' thoughts on Right to Censor. Charlie, go ahead.
All right, hang on. Let me just go in the time machine for a second. And 15-year-old Charlie's going to comment on Right to Censor. Well, current day Charlie can see it's a silly gimmick. Vince did it kind of cleverer to get back. 15-year-old Charlie fucking hated them. Every time I was going to see some puppies or something, these assholes would come out with their stupid cardboard signs, and I fall for it like a mark every time. Oh, Deborah's going to do it. She's going to do it. Here it comes, Right to Censor. Hated them. I thought it was stupid, but I had heat with them. But again, I was 15. Oh, I think if you're going for teenage boys, it's a good gimmick to get some heat. Doing it for your own shits and giggles, like McMahon clearly did. Hence, I use the pun shits and giggles. But other than that, I think it's highly forgettable. I know Godfather, especially, like, really was at his lowest in wrestling. A lot of members cite this as their lowest point in wrestling. They did not like this faction. Yeah, he really hated because in real life he's like the Godfather. Like he smokes weed. He manages a strip club in Las Vegas. Like it's meh. They got me all hot and bothered now. Catherine, take me out.
I just find it funny, and I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but they picked the ECW guy, the porn star, the pimp. Like, they picked all these people. The only one that actually kind of made sense was Ivory, because she was actually very known for, she didn't like the small outfits. She wasn't the skimpy dresser. Like, was very vocal about that. So, like, she kind of made sense. And I don't know if you guys know, but do you remember the website that they made back then? They made an rights to censor website. So it was rightstocensor.com forever. It was there. They lapsed in the ownership of the IP address. AEW bought it, and you put in right to censor, and it took you to the AEW website. This was like during COVID area, I think. It was like 2019, 2020, which is probably what brought them back, because the conversation had started again, because you see Ivory again for the first time in 20 years during the Rumble in like, what was it, 23, 22, somewhere around there. Is the only thing I can think of how we got from A to B on that one. But yes, genius marketing. Now you go to it, it's nothing. I actually looked at it before we hopped on just to see.
Yeah, it's a Chinese gambling
Yeah, it's
site.
a bunch of Chinese writing. Somebody
that
else,
somehow
I guess,
I've lost 10 grand in.
Yeah, you instantly lost. You got hacked and lost 10 grand.
Folks,
all in
don't
the same
Google
moment.
don't go to righttocensor.com.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of Chinese letters. But yeah, I think it's really funny. And like, it's even funnier because I don't know if you followed the lawsuit that WWF at the time filed against the PTC. They won for defamation. They ended up settling out of court, and they won. They ended up PTC ended up paying them like millions of dollars, and ended up, I think, having to do a public apology. Like, that's the win right there. Like, that's it. You
Public
won
apology,
everything.
Vince was dancing.
Not
like
only
this.
did you do you did a gimmick against them, and you then sued them and won millions of dollars. None of that matters. It's the public apology that they got is what I got to find it. But yeah, no, that's Vince McMahon at his peak.
That's great.
To play devil's advocate here, right? I don't know who I'm advocating for, but WWF at the time, right? They had Raw, and then the watershed moment, I think, would be at like 9, and then it would be the War Zone, and then it would be more intense, so you could expect more foul language and boobies and stuff. You can't boobies. I don't know. Sorry, that threw me a little bit.
Lost your train of thought. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're talking about the War Zone.
Yeah. When you say boobies, I'm off. Sorry. Jeremy, save me.
You really did. You channeled that inner 15-year-old.
As much as he likes rumps, I like boobies.
The boobies. I just like to call them boobies.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Anyways,
but to go back to something you said earlier that was on topic, the Good Father, the Godfather, at Val Venus as well. So there's interviews out there with them, more recently, where they said how much they clearly hated this. Like, the Godfather even told Vince, when Vince gave him this idea he had, he said, "Vince, just cut me loose." Like, he was that adamant about not doing it. So he made it like it was going to be a short-term thing, and then he would let him go back to being the Godfather. But what Vince also did, and Godfather brought this up in the interview, was he gave Bull Buchanan and the Good Father the tag team titles to keep them around longer, which is another dirty move to keep them. Yeah,
they won the tag titles. I don't even remember that.
I wouldn't expect you to remember that. I did not until I watched this interview. But yeah, they won the tag team titles for a while. I mean, we're talking about Attitude Era tag team titles. I mean, it's not much to talk about.
Hang on, but I get how Kathy was saying, like, the Godfather, the porn star guy. Where the fuck does Bull Buchanan fit in?
Exactly.
So a lot of people, so believe it or not, it's so funny when you read about any of this, everyone's like, he was one of the RTC. Like, nobody remembers him. So he was either completely overshadowed, or he just really was that irrelevant. And he just was just he was the muscle in the background was, I guess, his whole purpose.
He was secretly
I remember his baby Buddha face
with
with the buzzed hair.
Yeah, he should have been in that because of that terrible haircut he had.
Yeah.
That was awful.
But think about this too, like, even if the PTC didn't come after them, that would have been that would have worked either way. Like, because the Attitude Era was that era where they needed like that. That's how you got a baby face versus a heel. You got the people coming after them, trying to censor everything. That's making the Attitude Era as popular as it is. I think it would have done well, even if there was no vindictive backstory to it.
Yeah, they
Just
would have been
don't
the
do it
heels
today.
irregardless. Yeah, I mean, even think today they probably
It's the
still
PC
would be.
police.
Yeah.
It's
But I like-
South Park's PC police.
What's the
Yes,
what's
but I
the
would not
baby
wanna see
face's,
it.
like as a diva at the time? What's the baby face stance? No, I love taking off my clothes and having brown panties matches. I don't want to be respected as a wrestler. If
That
you're
was
a
one.
woman,
Somebody had that whole thing. I don't remember who it was, but somebody literally would come out purposefully and like take off more layers of clothes until the now I'm calling them the PC police. RTC comes out and like censors them. Like that was her whole gimmick.
probably the cat.
That's
Yes.
exactly who it was. That's really funny. I completely forgot, and you nailed it on the first try.
Yeah, she liked getting exposed.
She showed her boobies at Armageddon '99.
Yes,
I
remember that. She was also Jerry the King Lawler's girlfriend, so
Yes. That was
Yeah,
the
like,
feud that
what
kind
is
of started it.
30-year
Was
age-
Jerry the
age
King
gimmick.
versus them
Yeah.
for that. And then I think she got released like right after that, so it didn't actually matter. It never went anywhere after that.
She was fooling around on Jerry Lawler with one of the boys. I
shocker.
forget who. Yeah, I gotta look into that. She's a realtor down in
No.
She's a realtor down in Texas now. So if you wanna buy a house in Texas or just talk to the cat, just
She might flash
Google
you.
it. Yeah, Stacy Carter.
That's
I
why
think her
she's doing
name.
so well as a real estate agent.
Said you're interested.
But like many things gimmick-wise in WWE,
I
the
wanna
right to censor
relocate.
did not last long, and there was not officially a breakup of them. They just kind of stopped showing up, and all kind of went their own ways after that. So
It
the
lasted a
Godfather
while though. It was
They
like
did it for a little while.
almost 2
yeah.
years.
About a year.
Yeah, they
a
were
little over
on
a
and
year.
off. They weren't weekly on TV, which they were early on, but towards the end of it, they were not weekly on TV. They kind of spread them out, and then they eventually disappeared. But they all went back to their original gimmicks for the most part. I don't know that Ivory's was that much different anyway, like Kathy said, but they did return in their glory to the Godfather, the porn star, the whatever the hell Bull Buchanan was, and Stevie Richards. So not a long time, and they were not here for a good time. So that is right to censor. That was our gimmick of the week. Thank you, Jeremy, for dressing up. If you did not provide anything else, you at least provided that this week. So thank you for always coming in gear and putting yourself over. We appreciate it.
Got to be useful sometimes.
That is our episode for the week. And strange fact, we did not get a rump rating this week. We've had a nice streak of rump ratings for several weeks in a row.
That's true.
We didn't. We
Yeah,
should
we
have
had
done
no
one on Ivory.
live.
Wait, okay.
Yes,
Can I,
Ivory.
like, can I give him a rank Ivory's rump real
RTC,
quick? And here's
Jeremy's
a little
not doing
extra.
Nope.
All right. Well, I said boobies enough times to count. Ivory is 64 years old. She was like in her
Censor.
40s
Wow.
during this time. Yeah, bravo to Ivory. I mean, she looked great now.
And she
looks
wrestled
great back
3
then.
years ago, and she
Yeah.
still looked great. I had no idea she was in her 60s. That's wild.
Neither
Yeah.
did I. Wow. Fun facts you get on this show.
There you go. That's right.
You get a rump rating and you find out Ivory 64.
That's right.
All right, but that is this week's episode. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X. We're on all of them. And then if you want to hear something on the show, you got a question for us, send us an email at squaredcirclequestions@gmail.com. We'll try and incorporate that into the show. And with that, Charlie, you want to take us out?
I will. Join us next week on another edition of Squared Circle Spotlight, where gimmicks or golden merch is mandatory. And if we don't have a rump rating, we'll at least say boobies a couple times.